What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I am bringing you a review of the 2023 Alfa Romeo Stelvio. It has been a while since I've brought you a review of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio on this channel. I believe that the last one I drove was a quadrifolio model back in like the 2019 model year. I have not been able to bring you a review of a base Stelvio, and there have been a lot of updates to Alfa's compact SUV in that time. So I am excited to bring you a review of this model, which is an Estrema, which is a 2023 model year only version. Now, unfortunately, Alfa Romeo has told me that you can no longer order this Estrema version. You can still go to a dealership and buy one, which is why I'm bringing you this video, but you can no longer order one. I'll talk about the other trim levels that are available that you might be able to order instead if you want to order a new one, and we'll talk about some of the changes that are coming for the 2024 model year very, very soon. But let's go ahead and look at this Estrema model, because the way that Alfa Romeo pitched this, and we'll see whether or not this is accurate, is that the Estrema is kind of the closest that you can get to a quadrifolio model without that crazy twin-turbo Ferrari-derived V6 under the hood. So we still have the same fascia that you'd expect from the base Stelvio with the awesome triangular grille that I love so much, but there are some changes to it. We do have carbon fiber here in the grille, which is a nice little touch. We have the Alfa Romeo badge, which I love. That is the crest of the city of Milan, I believe, as well. Now, the headlights are going to be changing for the 2024 model year. We are going to be getting a new headlight design both on the Stelvio and the Giulia, but unfortunately I don't know exactly when the 2024 models are going to arrive in dealers, which is why I'm still driving this 2023 model year. Now, the Estrema is going to come with these 22-inch black wheels as standard. They look great. They look like something you'd get on the quadrifolio model. They're really gorgeous. You're gonna have a black caliper behind it, but I think you might be able to get other colors as well. Maybe not on the Estrema, but definitely on other Stelvio models. You can get 19s on the base Stelvio, 20s as well. Now, the thing about these is, while I love the actual pattern itself, I do wish that they were silver. It would just show that pattern so much better. They actually have a new trim level called the Lusso that you can still order. That has silver wheels that I think are absolutely gorgeous. But I think the whole point of the Estrema was to kind of black out the exterior, hence the black wheels. You're also going to get adaptive suspension and a limited slip differential, just like you get on the quadrifolio model, though as we see when we get it out on the road, it's not quite as stiff as a quadrifolio. We've got our Estrema badge, which means extreme in Italian, if you were wondering. I think Estrema just sounds so much better. We've got carbon fiber mirror cap, so that is an interesting look there. Again, all black here on the window dressing. This has always been a great looking car. This color, by the way, is called Misano Blue. I've gotten so many compliments driving it around. It is such a gorgeous color. And then as we come around to the back, there's not too much different here on the Estrema. We've got our dual port exhaust that looks really great, this little diffuser down here. Our Stelvio badge is going to be in black. And then we've got our Q4 badge. That means we have all-wheel drive, which comes standard on the Estrema, but the base Stelvio is actually going to be rear-wheel drive. Now, in terms of the cargo space, the Stelvio has always been on the smaller side of the luxury compact segment. You get about 18.5 cubic feet of storage back here, about 56.5 if you fold down those seats. There are many competitors in this segment, BMW X3 included, that offer you more storage space. So if you just want the biggest option available, this is definitely not going to be it. We do have a pretty easy to use cargo cover here that you can use to pull over all of your stuff. We've got some little grocery hooks here on both sides. We've got our big speaker over here as well. And the one thing that I do think is really nice, even though this isn't the biggest vehicle in its class, we do have the releases here for the seats. Just go ahead and pull those, and you can go ahead and drop these rear seats down, as I'll show you. The problem is, as you can see, it just bumped into the front seats, so they didn't fold completely flat. You'd have to push the seats up a little bit more. But I do like that they have these releases here in the trunk, which not all SUVs in this price range have, and you do have duplicate latches there in the back seat as well. And just so you can see, I've moved the front seats up, and that is what our storage capacity looks like. Again, not the biggest, but not terrible. It's gonna be a very similar story here in the back seat. We do not have the largest back seat available in this class with just under 32 inches of legroom. It is like acceptable though. I'm gonna go ahead and sit. So this is with the seat actually pushed up just a little bit from my normal driving position, and I do have an acceptable amount of legroom, not great. We do have air vents as you'd expect from a luxury car. We actually have heated rear seats on the Estrema model, and we do have 2 USB ports. But other than that, there's not really a crazy amount of luxury back here. We do have our panoramic roof. I do have my cup holder configuration with the little phone slot here, same as we have up front, as I'll show you. Other than that, not a super special back seat. And as I mentioned to you while we were in the trunk, you do have little releases back here that you can pull to drop the seats down, which is a nice convenience. And last but not least, before we drive the car, let's talk about what we get up here in the front. So on the Estrema model, we are gonna have these really nice black leather seats with a little bit of heavy bolstering compared to what you're going to get on a more basic Stelvio. They are a little grabby, so make sure that you sit in these before you buy them. I think if you're a little bit large in the rib cage here, these might be a little bit tight for you. I do like that they have the Alfa Romeo crest kind of embossed in there as well. These are heated seats, but ventilated seats are unfortunately not available on the Stelvio here. Interestingly, the Tonale, which is technically positioned under the Stelvio, does have ventilated seats. So something to consider if you're looking for the best tech and the best luxury, you might actually want the Tonale, not the Stelvio. We do have our start button here on the steering wheel. That is a very Italian thing, a very Alfa Romeo thing. I absolutely love this steering wheel. It is one of my favorite steering wheels. It is not super chunky, so your hands fit around it very nicely. We do have some red stitching here on the Estrema model. If I turn it to the side, you can see that the paddle shifters are going to stay exactly where they are. Big, nice metal paddle shifters. Alfa Romeo does these probably better than almost anybody in the business. You know, maybe Ferrari does them better, but you know, that's a Ferrari. It is really crazy that you have paddle shifters like this on an SUV like this, which is pretty cool. We do have normal physical gauges here, a normal tachometer, normal speedometer. You have a little screen in the middle that you can swap between using this button on the end of the stalk. So just some basic functions that you can go ahead and cycle through here, speed, trip computer, etc. For the 2024 model year, this is going to get replaced with a 12.3-inch digital display, similar to the one that's in the Tonale, but a little bit different. So something to consider if you are looking for a Stelvio and you'd rather have digital gauges, you're going to have to wait for the 2024 model year. Now, unfortunately, that 2024 model year is still going to have this same 8.8-inch infotainment system, which is now looking very small compared to a lot of its competitors. It just, you know, isn't very tall. It is not very wide. There's a lot of black space around it that I wish Alfa Romeo would have filled up. The Tonale has a bigger screen than this that has Uconnect 5, which I believe is an easier system to use than this. You have these kind of tiles here that you can rearrange, but not super easily. It does at least have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is nice to use. And I do like that in addition to being a touchscreen, you do get this controller here. It's not my favorite controller to go ahead and use, but it's decently intuitive and you don't always have to reach up and touch the touchscreen, which is kind of nice. You also have an abundance of physical controls here for the climate control. Easy way to turn up the fan speed, turn it down, adjust the temperature. Super easy, not fiddly like how BMW makes you use the touchscreen on that now. We do have a heated steering wheel. We have heated seats as well. As I mentioned, no ventilated seats. Decent cup hole area. cup holder area with a little phone slot. So if you have drinks that aren't too large, your phone can kind of rest in there as well. We also have a wireless charger down here, which is good if you're using wireless CarPlay. We've got a volume knob down here. It also serves as a forward and backward button. You can bump it to the left and the right, which is kind of cool. Here's the shifter for our 8-speed automatic transmission with the Italian flag on it. You can see when I go ahead and put it into reverse, no 360-degree camera on this. The Tonale does offer that, which is interesting. And the resolution is fine. It's definitely not the best I've seen in 2023. And we do have Alfa Romeo's DNA controller. So we have D, which is going to be like our sport mode. That's going to go ahead and put the suspension, because we do have adaptive suspension, into sport mode, but you can turn that off manually. And then we've got N, which is kind of our normal driving mode. And then we have A, which is kind of our efficient mode. It's going to really dial back the drivetrain a whole lot. I actually don't love driving it in that mode. We do have black seats only on the Estrema, but you can get some really nice colors on this car, like chocolate brown, red, and crema, which is like a nice cream color. We have one package here on this car, the Active Assist Plus package. It's about $1,500. It's going to get you active blind spot alert. It's going to get you highway assist, intelligent speed assist, lane keep assist, traffic jam assist, and traffic sign recognition. I'm going to go ahead and recommend that package. And because we have the Estrema, we do have this nice leather dashboard. It does give this car a really nice premium feel. We have carbon fiber instead of wood on the Estrema. A lot of other Stelvio trims have wood, but this and the Quadrifoglio get real carbon fiber. This interior is nice. I don't think that too many people that I've given a ride in this car have been blown away by the interior. They've said it's nice, but not super luxurious. The exterior is where this car really shines, and when you get behind the wheel of the car, which we're going to do now. All right, so now let's get the 2023 Alfa Romeo Stelvio Estrema out on the road to see how it drives. Now, I've been telling you in this video that the Estrema, which means extreme, God, it just sounds so much better in Italian, was pitched to me as kind of a Quadrifoglio, just without the engine and, you know, the brakes. So you're getting a base Stelvio with the base engine, but it kind of looks and feels like a Quadrifoglio. And I'm here to tell you that that pitch is a little bit off. That's not quite what the Estrema is. I think maybe if you want to say aesthetically it looks like a Quadrifoglio, sure. But this suspension is definitely not on the level of a Quadrifoglio, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we'll first talk about the engine, which all Stelvios minus the Quadrifoglio are going to have. It's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, like most crossovers in this segment have. It's actually got really good power considering that this is the base engine. 280 horsepower and 306 pound-feet of torque is going to get this vehicle up to 60 miles an hour in just 5.4 seconds with a top speed of 144 miles per hour. That is a really good power level, once again, for a base model. But there is no upgraded engine between this and a Quadrifoglio. I've always believed that there was room for another model in between them, because this engine is definitely not that twin turbocharged V6 that you get in the Quadrifoglio, which has 505 horsepower. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put it into the D setting, the dynamic setting. That's going to go ahead and stiffen our adaptive suspension, and I'm going to see what the launch control is like. Ready? Ready? Woohoo! Ooh, it actually gets off the line really well. Ooh, really quick. Wow. So something that you notice in this car is there is considerable lag sometimes when you just want to accelerate normally. If you go ahead and push the brake and the throttle like I just did, it primes that turbocharger, so it fires off the line really, really well. No lag at all when the car is expecting you to accelerate like that. So really good. The problem with it that I have is that it only revs to a little over 5,000 RPM, and when you do so, it doesn't sound particularly great. It's kind of groany. It just kind of reminds me of like a diesel engine, the way that it revs. Now, because it has so much torque, over 300 pound-feet, you really don't need to rev it out that much. It's really good at accelerating in the low RPM band, which kind of makes it a little superfluous that I have these big, awesome paddle shifters to play around with. I mean, they work really well if I go ahead and slap it into manual mode. They're not like as crisp and responsive as they would be in the Quadrifoglio model. See, I pulled that paddle and it just didn't, it takes a second to downshift, even in dynamic mode. So as much as I love these paddles and playing around with them, this isn't really the engine that I would want to play around with them with, you know? So that's a little bit disappointing. On the fuel economy side, it's okay. With rear-wheel drive, you're going to be getting 22 mpg in the city, 29 on the highway, and 25 combined. Adding all-wheel drive, which the Estrema comes with, is going to drop that down a little bit. Same number in the city, 22, 28 on the highway, so down 1, and you're going to average about 24 mpg. So a 1 mpg hit on the highway and combined is really not that bad for adding all-wheel drive. As far as the Estrema is concerned, this is the only non-Quadrifoglio model that's going to get that adaptive suspension. I do like it. It is tuned much softer than it is on the Quadrifoglio, which is absolutely necessary. The Quadrifoglio is a very bouncy, very stiff experience that I don't think anybody who's just buying this level of Stelvio is going to want. So even in the stiff setting, which can only be accessed when you put the vehicle in dynamic mode, it's not too bad. The ride is, you know, a little choppy in that sportiest setting, but it rebounds nicely and it doesn't beat you up. And the thing that I do like about it on the DNA controller is that even if I want to drive in dynamic mode, which I do frequently because I like this powertrain more when I put it in the dynamic setting, I can go ahead and push the button on the top. That's going to go ahead and put my dampers back into their soft setting, but now I have the sport steering, now I have the sport transmission, the sport engine, all of that stuff that I still want. Now here's where the Stelvio shines. The steering on this car is bordering on twitchy, but I wouldn't call it twitchy. It's just very precise, really fun to play around with, very hot hatch-like. It doesn't feel like I am driving a tall crossover right now. It does feel like I am driving a hot hatchback that happens to be a little bit taller. Again, with those great paddles, with the nice suspension. This is a very enjoyable car to push around. Not as fun as a Quadrifoglio, but not as expensive as a Quadrifoglio. This is one of, if not the best, driver's cars in its segment, so I will give Alfa Romeo props on that. The only problem now is that I've driven the Alfa Romeo Tonale, which has much better technology than this. The steering is not quite as good, nor is the gearbox, but you do get a plug-in hybrid drivetrain. You do get a significant discount if you lease it, and you can factor in the tax credit. So that is something that I would heavily consider if I just really wanted an Alfa Romeo and I could sacrifice just a little bit on the driving experience, because while this is a really great driving experience, I don't think that the Tonale is going to compromise for you that much on that area. And if I haven't mentioned it already, you cannot order an Estrema anymore. There might be some left over in dealer inventory, but this model is no longer available to order. So you really can't even get this combination anyway, which is fine. I think that there are other Stelvio trims that are just as good. I think the Lusso is actually even better looking than this because you get a lighter interior and you get silver wheels, and it's a little bit cheaper. So if you are looking for an Alfa Romeo crossover, I think the Stelvio is still a really nice model. I'd be maybe waiting for those 2024 updates, and I would definitely consider the Tonale strongly when you walk into that Alfa Romeo dealer. All right, so that was the 2023 Alfa Romeo Stelvio. Let's see how the pricing breaks down. So the trim levels that are available for 2023 include the base Sprint model, the TI, the Lusso, the Veloce, the Estrema, which we've driven in this video, and the Quadrifoglio. The base price for the Sprint model is $46,575, about the same price as a BMW X3. You do get rear-wheel drive with that, but you can add all-wheel drive. Now, this Estrema model that we have is just under 60 grand. It's a little over 60 grand since we have that assistance package added on. It's based on the Veloce trim, which is only about $54,000, but you're adding 21-inch wheels. You're adding a nice interior and sound package with a Harman Kardon audio system, and then you also get the adaptive suspension and the limited slip differential. Is all of that worth it? I'm gonna go ahead and say not really. I'd probably rather just have the Veloce, or I'd probably get that Lusso trim that I was telling you about. That is a really nice version of this car as well. Now the Quadrifoglio is a completely different beast. It starts off at $88,000. You can go ahead and watch my video that I filmed of that back in 2019. That is a true driver's car, but it is very specific to a very niche audience because not everybody is going to want a car that's that firm. So wrapping up with the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, I think I might hold off on buying this until 2024. I think that the facelift looks really nice, and I like that digital gauge cluster that's coming. And the Alfa Romeo Tonale is really giving me pause on recommending the Stelvio right now because you get that plug-in hybrid drivetrain. You can drive it around 30 miles on electric power alone. I think it looks just as good as the Stelvio. I don't know if it drives quite as well, but in terms of interior measurements, you actually get a bigger trunk and about the same size back seat. And it's a little bit cheaper than the Stelvio. So that would give me a little bit of pause if I was going into my Alfa Romeo dealership, but I would recommend test driving both back to back and seeing which one you prefer. I hope you enjoyed this review of the 2023 Alfa Romeo Stelvio. For more videos like it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to read more about the 2023 Alfa Romeo Stelvio, be sure to check out carbuzz.com. I'll see you next time.